Hey, Brooke, how's it going?
Great. How are you, Jack?
I'm doing great. It's wonderful to see you.
That's awesome.
Thank you for making the time. I really appreciate it. So I just want to ask you a couple questions sort of about your experience with working with us and obviously Henry and where he's off to and the good stuff that kind of happened, but also the challenges and obstacles that you faced along the way, because I think
Yeah.
that's just helpful for parents to hear.
Yeah.
So the first thing that I really want to know is when you guys first came to us and we talked, I think last year,
Yeah.
what were you guys struggling with? What originally led you to reach out to us?
Yeah. So, we were late, I guess, late in the process, as you would call it. Henry was in his senior year already, and he was a reclass senior. So time was kind of in some ways like running out for us, or we felt that way for sure. And I think we had a lot of maybe promises or things that we thought were going to happen. He was at a boarding school that had been recruited at for basketball. So you think at some point, like there's a level in which, that's going to help you or your kid get interest and some type of something happening there. He also played on an AAU team where there was a lot of talk about like he's going to make it to this high level, so much is going to happen. And really he was playing in these tournaments. He was doing well, but he really wasn't getting any interest. We just didn't have any like feedback at all. And it just was like, felt like, what are we doing here? And he really, and I think at the end of this, it's like my son just really wanted to play basketball in college. And he had had an experience at another boarding school where he didn't play. And he's like, I don't want to just be a walk on somewhere where I'm never going to play. Like, I want to go to a place where I'm really going to play. And so I had seen a lot of your TikToks and I thought, you know what, like let me reach out because like we're not really getting the help that we need from the people like in our circle. So like I think we need to reach out to get some more help.
Yeah. Okay, cool. And so what were some of the other things? You mentioned AAU, you mentioned the boarding
Yeah.
school. What were some of the other ways that you were struggling with recruiting? You weren't really sure how you were going to solve this problem. What were some of the other ways that you tried to find direction in recruiting or get help in recruiting or sort of like navigate the way? What were some other things you tried?
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, we didn't try a whole lot because I think we lived in this misconception that my son had that was scholarships just land in your lap. After you play a really great game, you're going to get a call from the coach. They're waiting for you on the sidelines. If they really want me, they would have called me already. Like you don't reach out to them, they'll come find me. So it was this whole idea that this thing was going to land in his lap. And I'm not sure, like, I feel like I'm a pretty educated person, but I don't know why I went along with that for that long. And finally, like when I saw your stuff, I was like, oh yeah, wait a minute. Like what's the chance that the school that's like the right fit for him is going to be there at the same time he's playing a tournament and like yeah let's bring Henry on like I don't know what
Yeah.
we were thinking, so we honestly hadn't tried a whole lot before meeting you.
Yeah. It's
Yeah.
funny because, like you say, you're an educated person, you're super bright, you're very with it, you're on top of things, but at the same time, there's always the belief like, oh, but maybe next month it'll be different. Or like, maybe next year it'll be different. Ah, there was this
Yeah.
other thing that caused this. Like, maybe that'll be different.
Yeah.
Um, and you hear, oh, if you're good enough, they'll find you. Like, if you're good enough, they'll find you. And what I always try to remind people is they'll find someone. It just might not be your kid, right? They're
Right.
gonna find somebody.
Yeah.
And so yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Okay, so eventually it came time. You saw me on TikTok, you're like,
Yeah.
all right, who the heck is this guy?
Yeah.
Let's see what he's about. And you ended up coming to us. And so once that happened,
Hmm.
how did you feel about the process once we started kind of working together? What types of things did we help you with? What did you find particularly helpful? How do we help you solve this problem and sort of find direction?
Well, I feel like you gave us a whole action plan that was like, okay, it's not like an empty promise. That's pretty much, it was like a hope and prayer and an empty promise was kind of on one side. And this was like, what can you actually be doing in this time period to accomplish your goal? And
Mm.
so from the playbook that's you're constantly updating it. So that thing, I could probably go back to it today and it's totally different than when I signed on for the thing. And
Yeah.
just all the videos were super easy to follow. Like I don't have, it's like doing another job on top of my job wasn't really going to be possible. So I felt like I could get it done. My husband and I like tag teamed it, all those emails, like what to say, what to do. I would say like Henry was sort of involved and we were very involved in the process in terms of like really just helping to get some of those emails out and those connections and realizing that there's like someone else on the other end. And we got a lot of responses. We also had like a lot of long things on his YouTube, and you really helped us to be like, have many, many, many clips of just like the highlights.
Yeah.
And that, like, I mean, it takes time, but having all that stuff there, first of all, it's really cool now because he's got it. You just never know what's going to be in the future. Like, yeah, I don't
Yeah.
know, maybe he'll transfer. I have no clue, but it's like we've got it all, it's ready. And it's cool. Like, it's cool to have all those clips. So I feel like between that and then just the idea of like, you're not just sitting back and waiting for something to happen, you like have a complete action plan. And then when we didn't know what the heck we were doing, we would get on a call with you and you'd be like, okay, here's what you're going to do next. And
Yeah.
I felt like it broke it down to like very simple, like details of like, here's what you're going to do and this is what's going to happen. And I thought it was not only successful, but just like, I don't know, sometimes when you're feeling like stressed about something, being able to be doing something
Yes.
towards the goal is like such a big feeling of relief.
Yes, and I think that is it exactly, which is that like the best cure for anxiety or fear.
Yeah.
I'm not sure what the word is there, but the best cure for it is action of some
Right.
sort. And the hard part is like after working with you and George, like you guys are people of action, right?
Yeah.
You're people of action. You work what I'll call like competitive jobs. Like you guys
Right.
do real stuff, like cool
Yeah.
stuff. And but at the same time, even people of action, if you don't have a game plan
Yes.
to follow, it becomes very difficult to actually do the action because you don't know what to act on.
Exactly.
Um, and so yes, I love that. I see that a lot. Like just
Yeah.
even getting a game plan and then putting it into action, even before you see results, starts to make people feel better. They're like, oh, okay, I'm moving in the right direction. Like, even if
Yes.
I haven't seen the fruit of this labor yet, it's coming because I feel it. I feel
Yes.
relief from that.
Yes.
Um, okay, that's amazing. Yeah,
Yeah.
I love that. Okay, so you came in. Um, we kind of helped you solve this problem, but I
Mhm.
honestly want to go back to the beginning of that
Yeah.
when you first found me on TikTok and you're
Mhm.
like, this guy, uh, what is he all about? Is this worth it? I don't know.
Yeah.
Were you hesitant to buy when we first talked on the phone a while ago? Were you hesitant to buy? If so, why? Why not? Talk to me about that.
No, I don't know why. I mean, certainly I would have if we didn't have the phone call. Like if it
Hmm.
was just like, okay, like sign on for this thing and then you get a call with Jack. Yeah, for sure. But there was something about everything that you said, which was there was no promises there. It was all like we just said, it's an action plan. And here's what we're going to do. And I thought, okay, we haven't done any action. We've just been like pretty much hope with our strategy. So when we've decided that we're going to now like not rely on like two people and a lot of hope and we're going to like take action, I was like, okay, we're going to try this because to me it felt like a very minimal cost. I mean, I live in New York City and what people charge to like go to college, any kind of college assistance, it's like many zeros. So I was
Yeah.
kind of like, what do I have to lose at this point? I got to try this. So I don't know. I thought you were very convincing. I also thought that you laid it all out that made sense to me. So I think it was an easy yes for me.
Okay. Cool. Well, that's cool to hear.
Yeah, there you go.
Okay, so you weren't hesitant. You
Yeah.
hopped in.
Hmm.
We gave you a game plan.
Yeah.
What happened? Did it work? Was it worth it? Like what happened?
You know what? I feel like we learned so many things because of it. So it's not like, oh, here's all the stats of like, all the schools that reached out, which we did have schools reach out, which is really exciting. But I think again, it was like having this plan. We learned a lot about, okay, what actual type of shooter is he? Like we were able to drill it down because of the videos and we were able to be more specific about like what he actually wants to do as well. And then try to look at, I think you were also really helpful in like when we looked at the schools specifically, like you talked a lot about how when you were in the process, you would try to find like holes in the teams and like where you could go in because like you either saw like someone was like not performing as well as they could have, whatever. And we've kind of we did like a similar thing where he'd watch the teams and we'd feel like, okay, like this is something that they're missing, or this is something that Henry does differently. And that was something that he learned about himself, which even though he'd been playing basketball for a little while, he didn't have that articulation. So I think between that, having better communication with coaches, like that's huge for a kid to be able to like really learn how to communicate with your coach. I feel like that really helped a lot with like the scripts and understanding that.
Yeah.
And then just like, all the other side of the work on the other end was great. But I think ultimately what ended up getting Henry, like, when he got a significant merit scholarship, he's going to the University of New England. And I feel like what helped him get there was really understanding what kind of player he was and matching up with a coach that really is excited about the type of player he is. And I think that's really cool. And like really realizing that value about yourself and finding that, because if you really want to play, you got to find, the right fit,
Yeah.
not just like this big school,
Yes.
so
I I try to tell people as much as I can.
yeah,
That fit is really the most important thing. I did the big D1 thing.
yeah,
And it was not the first D1 I went to was just not a good fit for me. And then I ended up going to junior college where we were, like changing in the dugouts because we didn't have locker rooms and
mhm,
riding a yellow school bus and like stuff like that to
yeah,
games. And I loved it. It was just a great fit for me. And then I went on to another D1, which was a big school, and it was also a great fit for me, right? So not all
yeah,
D1s are evil or something like
right,
that.
okay,
But best fit really is the
hmm,
most important thing. So I'm super excited for you guys. I'm stoked for
yeah,
Henry. And yeah, I mean, I'm sad that we won't be talking as much
I know.
or something, but I really appreciate your time. Thank you for sharing your experience. And yeah, I really
No,
appreciate you.
thank you for everything. Yeah,
Got it. Okay, awesome. Thanks for your time, Brooke.
okay.